All right, we have a lot to get through today, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first Undecided, a Conversation. My name is Ashley Klimp, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Tracy Cahall. We're so glad you've chosen to spend part of your day with us. One of the things we hear most from students and early career professionals is that it can feel like everyone else has their career figured out. The truth is most of us don't. Behind every LinkedIn profile is a winding path, unexpected opportunities, difficult decisions, and moments of uncertainty. That's exactly why we created Undecided. Today's conversation isn't about finding the perfect career path. It's about hearing honest stories from professionals who are asking many of the same questions you are not that long ago. Whether you're deciding between academia and industry, preparing for your first job, considering further schooling, or simply wondering what comes next, we hope you'll leave today with a few practical ideas and the reassurance that uncertainty is completely normal. Throughout today's conversation, we'll have a few interactive polls, plenty of opportunities to ask questions through the Q&A feature, and our team will be active in the chat, sharing resources and collecting your questions. Most importantly, we hope this feels less like a webinar and more like a conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Ashley. And one of my favorite things about today's panel is that our speakers today are not reflecting on decisions that they made 20 years ago. They have each navigated many of these same career questions just relatively recently. And that means that the advice you're going to hear today comes from people who really still remember what it felt like to wonder about these questions. Am I choosing the right path? Do I have enough experience? And what if my career doesn't go exactly as I planned it? So there isn't one right answer to those questions, and that is exactly what we hope will make today's discussion so valuable for you. So I'm going to kick things off with our first poll. Just give me a second to find it and launch it. Okay. Can you see that on your screen? Any of the panelists want to tell me you see that?
Yes.
Okay. What is your coffee level of confidence today? I'm going to put myself at 3 cups. I'm somewhere in the middle.
I'm not going to share how many mountain I've had so far, but
I it becomes an all-day event for me sometimes. Okay. All right, I think we have a lot of votes in here. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and share those results. Let's see what we have today. Oh, pretty good. People
a
are
lot of
feeling pretty good.
a lot of self-restraint, running
Yeah,
on confidence.
no 5 cups. That's probably a good sign, right? Okay.
All right. Well, I think one thing you'll hear today is that confidence isn't something people magically have at the beginning of their careers. It's something we build over time through experience, challenges, and sometimes even the moments that don't go according to plan. With that in mind, let's meet the three people who are joining us today to share a little of their own journeys. Our first panelist is Reza Aliz. I knew I'd be the first person to mess up. Reza Alizadeh from Magna International. Reza recently navigated the transition from academia into industry, and through mentoring students and early career professionals, he's developed a thoughtful perspective on one of the biggest questions many graduate students face. What happens when your career takes a different direction than you originally planned? Reza, welcome. We'd love to start by learning a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Ashley. I have a PhD in industrial and systems engineering from University of Oklahoma. Just after I finished my PhD, I joined University of Tulsa Business School as a visiting assistant professor in data analytics for about a year, and then I moved to Magna for 3 years. I've been in Magna, and my work sits at the intersection of operations research, data science, and applied AI. At Magna, I developed optimization, simulation, and decision support systems for production planning, scheduling, battery operations, and multi-robot coordination. What I find most rewarding is taking an intellectually challenging problem, understanding how the system really works and translating that understanding into a practical tool that helps people to make better decisions. I have always been drawn to complex problems that do not have an obvious answer. Operations research also fascinated me because it combines mathematical rigor, creativity, and practical impact. It allows us to understand how many interconnected decisions affect the entire system and design better ways for that system to operate. I also enjoy the continuous learning involved. Every new problem requires curiosity, careful questioning, and willingness to challenge the assumptions that we make at the beginning. For many years, I expected to build my career along those lines entirely in academia. And that began to change when I saw how strongly I was motivated by implementation, working with engineers and operations team, testing ideas in real environments and seeing analytical models influence actual decisions. I also realized that moving into industry would not mean leaving research and intellectual exploration behind. It would allow me to apply the same curiosity and analytical thinking in different setting. Also, some other factors are outside our control. Both my wife and I were in the same discipline, and we were in academia, both of us. So two-body problem that most of probably graduate students that they get married with graduate students may have that. So we experienced that as well. That was another catalyst for us. So you don't plan for it, but your priorities change and what motivates you also change. Yeah, that's my story, and I would like to take questions along those lines as well.
Great, thanks so much. So next we are joined by Dmitry Timoshenko, an applied scientist with Amazon Web Services. And Dmitry recently completed graduate school and now works on applying machine learning in real-world settings. He is passionate about helping students bridge the gap between technical education and practical impact. So Dmitry, same thing for you. If you could just give us your brief intro, tell us a little bit about your journey so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your introduction. Yeah, my name is Dmitry. I'm currently an applied scientist at Amazon Web Services. I joined Amazon as the data science intern 3 years ago. It was a great internship, and I worked closely with my manager and my mentors, and I was able to show my knowledge and what I learned in the graduate school. So after that, my manager proposed me to move to applied scientist job because it involves more scientific approach. It involves writing codes to assess the quality of our systems. And I thought it is an amazing opportunity for me. But it took me a lot to learn how to demonstrate what you are capable of and to convince people that you can do things that people might think that you're not able after graduating. So yeah, it took me some time. Regarding what exactly I'm working on, so I work in a marketing science team. We measure different marketing activities to see what channels are important, what channels are not important, what do we need to propose to our customers, and what works the best for our business. It really takes a lot in terms of understanding the field, understanding the customers, their needs, especially if we think about B2B setting in the AWS. At the same time, it's very challenging in terms of technical aspects. So you need to know a lot about causal inference. You need to understand a lot about machine learning, because if you would like, for example, to measure what is the impact of channel, then definitely we need to understand how to set up a proper experiment. If we would like to make a recommendation to our next customer, then you need to know a lot about recommendation systems. And so you always have something to learn around you. And yeah, this is what I really like. Yeah, very happy to answer any questions that you will have. Thank you.
Our final panelist is Samriti Vats, a business intelligence engineer at Amazon. Samriti describes her own journey as anything but linear. She's become passionate advocate for embracing exploration, adaptability, and continuous learning, rather than feeling pressure to have every step planned from the beginning. Samriti, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Emily, and thanks, Ashley, and welcome everyone to the panel. Thanks for joining the panel. My name is Samriddhi Watts, and I'm currently working as a business intelligence engineer, as Ashley mentioned, in Amazon in customer service and experience organization. My work currently focuses on building data systems and analytics workflows for Amazon customers. That includes anybody who orders from Amazon, be it a small business or an individual, and Amazon drivers. And also, I build workflows to improve the customer experience for customer service representatives or associates who handle your contacts when you reach out to Amazon. As Ashley mentioned, my career has been pretty non-linear, and because I started my undergrad was in chemical engineering, started my first job in management consulting, and then decided to pivot to do my master's at Purdue University in business analytics. And here I am at Amazon working with large data systems in the field of analytics, and now also using applied AI to advocate for research and for education and to helping ongoing national level research in shaping the curriculum for future students in the field of data. On the point of not having everything figured out, I think it's been a very recent realization for me, or I would say as I have progressed in my career, the realization has become stronger by consistently telling myself at each stage that as and when I get overwhelmed, that it's okay and we'll figure it out. Things have worked out good so far, so it will definitely work out good in the future too. So the key for me for realizing not having things figured out is just focus on the current step, and then rest will follow, and then we'll have a good trajectory. So, and happy to talk about any of these points in detail in the coming conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much for sharing that. At this point, we're going to take a few minutes to address some questions. I will mention now, I can't remember if we said this earlier, but you can use the Q&A feature throughout this hour to just submit questions as you think of them. And we're kind of going to take little breaks here and there to pull questions out of there. So I don't see any yet, but we did ask registrants to submit a question when you signed up for this webinar. And we got some interesting kind of themes going on in the questions that were submitted there. So one thing I want to ask now is about making that decision between whether you're going to work in academia or industry or what type of industry you're going to pursue. How do you make a decision that affects your entire career now? Does anyone want to speak to specifically what that's like, or how did you take something that felt so big, and just move forward?
I can go first.
Sure.
I would suggest, for me personally, if I want to share, I expected to follow a traditional academic path, become a professor, continue publishing research, teach, mentor students, apply for grants. I cared deeply about those activities and viewed academia as the natural continuation of my doctoral work. At that point, I had not fully appreciated how many other ways out there to pursue intellectually meaningful work, or I can do to create impact. Something changed along the way, and that was my understanding changed how I could create value. I discovered that I enjoyed not only developing new methods, but also working through the difficult process of implementation, understanding the real world operational constraints, collaborating with different people, and adapting a solution until it could actually be used. And so that made industry increasingly attractive to me. But before that, I would suggest to talking to different people in both worlds to see day-to-day work, how it looks like. Panels like this, or a lot of clubhouse meeting I had attended, even the informs workshops that we attended, the panelists from both sides, listening to them, that mindset of what is out there, and I can work in that world, and I love to work in that world because of that, comes from those informative sessions. And also listing what matters most to me, like research freedom, impact, teamwork, pace, stability, or new problems every day, or like different impact that I can creating new knowledge in academia, or creating new tools in industry, or trying a short project or internship to fill the real tasks. Comparing those things would I think would help, and that shift becomes clear when you begin working on problems where an analytical model could directly change the operational decision. So yeah, those are kind of suggestions that going through them can help to decide which direction to go or change.
Great. Did anyone else want to answer that question, or?
I think Reza got it covered. I don't have anything to.
Wonderful. Let's go ahead and move on then.
All right, so we've already heard a little bit about each of your journeys, and one thing that stands out is that none of them followed a perfectly straight line, which I think is reassuring for everyone listening today. I'd love to start by talking about expectations versus reality. Reza, when you were finishing graduate school, what did you sort of picture your career would look like?
Um, I was um, traditional academic path. Like I wanted to become a professor. Actually, I had an advisor that we have a kind of motto in our lab that being a professor is the best job in the world. And other thing better than that is to being married to one. Uh, so with that mindset, I wanted to become a professor, and I became a professor. And I loved publishing papers. I still love publishing and continuing doing that, mentoring students, something that I did there at industry job. Also, I was one of the people that I was mentoring my peers, or like sharing the knowledge. That teaching mindset was there as well, or working on IDF's patents, which is kind of industry publishing path. So every professional skills that we gain during our undergrad or graduate school, um, they they are kind of transferable, or we have to focus on making them transferable. So my clear path was that traditional academic path. I cared deeply about that. But at one point, what changed my understanding was that I would love to see how those methods, algorithms, models can be applied and create real world impact. That was something that I wanted to, like my PhD dissertation or the uh, the mental model behind that should go and work somewhere and fix something in real world, or some people should use it. That passion made me to come to industry and do something that I can see tangible impact. So that is what changed. And also I wanted to um, be somewhere that I can practice both of them. And I think um, uh, if uh, if there is an opportunity that there is a balance between them, and it's a kind of personal decision as well. So if a person can create that balance in academia or in industry, that can do both deep analytical work and also deployment implementation work, that from my perspective would be a sweet spot.
So looking back, was that change, that pivot, was that exciting, intimidating, a little both, or
It
just
was it
sailing?
was it was kind of both. It was exciting because it opened an entirely new way to apply my skills and continue learning. It was also intimidating because I had invested years and years in one professional identity and was entering an environment with totally different expectations. Over time, I learned that changing direction does not mean discarding my past. It means carrying my experience into a new context. But a lot of learning, unlearning, and relearning happened all the along the way.
Yeah. Now, Samriddhi, you described your career as nonlinear. So I'm curious, did Ray's story just resonate with you?
Yeah, definitely. While I did not have a first-hand experience in academia, like transitioning from academia to industry, but the fundamentals of transition and change remain more or less same if you transition from one field to another. Um, so I would say yes, it definitely resonated in terms of why I transitioned to this field and how the new field kept me on toes in terms of learning and making myself more upskilled for problem solving and solving hard challenges.
Now, was there a point when you stopped feeling like you had to have the whole plan figured out and you were just going with the flow?
Yeah, like I had in my first job, like when I joined fresh out of my undergrad, uh, spending 1 year or 1.5 year into the job, you are in the fresh environment and you're into the job for the first time in the corporate world. So after 1.5 year, I was still chasing the whole process of figuring things out, planning my career. Okay, what's the next step should look like, and being in that the FOMO stage, as people call it. And, oh, okay, my peers are doing, pursuing this path, and what should my path be? So in that, when I was pursuing that path of, okay, what's I reached that stage where I was asking myself, what now, what should be my next step? And I thought to myself that it seemed like in my undergrad I thought I had everything figured out. I had a 5 year plan to follow, but things didn't go as planned. I am not in the chemical engineering field anymore. It's a new field. So what now? And spending more time with that thought, with that uncomfortable thought, kind of made me let go of that thought as well, of stop, like reaching a stage where I stopped figuring things out and just took, okay, what's the next step that I should take? And then one thing led to another. So I think I reached that stage of having stopped figuring things out a few months or 1 year or 1.5 year down the line in my first job itself.
All right, Dimitri, your experience is a little different because you moved directly from graduate school into an applied science role. Was your transition sort of what you expected?
Um, yeah, that's a great question. I think it was very different from what I expected. So because the transition was incredibly quick, people are waiting for your results and like every single time, and you need to deliver and you need to see how things work. And you have a lot of like constraints. In academia, you can always create environments which is control. You have a very nice data. You can come up with some model. You have um, very good benchmarks where you can see what is the impact of your work, and you can see it immediately. Like this feedback loop in academia, in some fields, I'm not talking about all academia, of course. In some fields, it's very quick, and you can see what is the improvement and if I'm moving in the right direction. While in the industry, what I can see, it's actually huge teamwork. Even like my title says that I'm an applied scientist and I think I'm expected to work alone, it's still a lot about talking with other people, understand their needs, understand what I actually need to deliver, and how to make sure that I use my time like properly and I don't spend on something that is not relevant to our problem. But yeah, I think moving from this control environment or where you understand what's going on next, what's going on next, what's going to be like next week assignment and everything, to very quick environments, it's a huge, yeah, I didn't expect that at all. Yeah.
I think one thing we've heard pretty consistently is that every journey looked different, but uncertainty was sort of part of all of them. So thank you all for sharing.
Right. So we do have a couple of questions. I'm going to ask one from the registrations first, and then I have a couple that came in the Q&A. So one thing is about transferable skills. So you've talked a little bit about unexpected paths. What are the skills that you've built that really could be applicable in anywhere that you go?
I think I can go next.
Sure.
So I think being able to communicate is one of the most important things. Like just being a nice person, it's very important, and it's very important to learn how to be this person. To make sure that you are not afraid to ask questions when you're like at your junior, at the beginning of your career, middle, senior, doesn't matter. You always need to make sure that you ask questions and you understand the high level picture, like the methodologies and all this mathematics behind the decisions. It's something that you can learn, but you need to understand the problem at first to understand where to apply this mathematics.
Reza?
Yeah, it resonates with me what Dimitri said. Communication is the key. Communication is very important. Actually, that is also the biggest surprise. Again, I try to also kind of address the audience that they are also deciding academia or industry. So one of the biggest surprise that I had was learning that the most sophisticated technical solution is not necessarily the most valuable one, or the most high fidelity model is not the most valuable. A solution must also address the right problem, and for getting the right problem, you have to communicate, you have to talk to all the stakeholders, engineering team, operations team, hire manager, um, uh, deployment team, implementation, infrastructure, all of them, because every team can have their own priorities, their own agenda, but you have to come up with a solution, is a compromising solution. It takes all the priorities, requirements, and also reflects operational reality also, and most importantly, what customer wants, to gain also stakeholder trust and be practical to implement. And for reaching that point, communication, communication, communication. And as engineers, we we may become very good in developing algorithms, analytical models, but breaking a vague problem, ambiguity also is there, uncertainty is also always there. Breaking that vague problem into clear steps, figuring out what data we need. And as Dimitri said, maybe in a school environment or in academia, we have some data. Obviously, in academia, we don't have real world data, so that's the challenge in academia. But in industry, we have the real world data, or we can test the model, verify and validate it in real world environment. But data is always messy, information is always incomplete. So, being comfortable turning those incomplete numbers and data and models, sophisticated models, into a story that non-technical people can also understand. Again, highlights the importance of communication and also listening is listening and carefully asking right questions. It's a skill that I think it's a transferable skill and very important. And technical skills also always important. So being up to date with the area that you want to go. And recently, not just one area is important. So if I say I'm an operations research expert, so just prescriptive analytics. I don't care about predictive analytics or exploratory analytics or simulation or software engineering, or because you build an algorithm, you have to be able to implement and deploy it. So you need to know some data engineering, you need to know some computer science, you need to know some software engineering, and people skills are really, really important.
Samriddhi, did you want to add anything about transferable skills?
Yes, plus 100 to Reza and Dimitri's point. Uh, Everything that they said is totally reasonable, and that's what was also on my top list. On what I would want to add is three things that I think should be kept in mind and are transferable skills. Number one being the the ability to know how to approach an unknown problem and be okay with the with not knowing what the problem is, and then still approaching it and then breaking it down, and as Reza mentioned, breaking it down into smaller chunks and solving it. Because in industry, and I'm speaking from industry standpoint more, because in industry most of the problems that you would work on or projects you would work on do not come with a predefined syllabus or something that as it comes in your grad school. So not being afraid of the newness of the problem, and just know, having a framework in your mind of how to approach a new problem. What material should I collect? What background research should I do? Whom to talk to collect your fundamentals and make sure you have all the knowledge, and then go ahead and execute, and do not directly jump into building the technical solutions or writing your code or logic or whatsoever. So spending the right time in the first part will help you navigate the problem and find the solution of the problem in the long term. So that part. Second would be showing up even when you are half confident. Most of the time, in rooms or in meetings or in work, for tough challenges, or even asked for some insights, or when posed with some difficult questions, we might not feel confident all the time in having the right answers. But still showing up and not doubting the answers that you are getting in your mind, and just speaking that up, gets the job done. Like half job is done there. So we kind of make up a larger picture in our head, which is not there in reality. So just show up even when you are half confident, or even when less confident, would help you go through the day or through that meeting or through the project. And that applies to any stage of your career. And third would be documentation. Documentation of your work for your personal for your personal recognition to be used in your resume, CV, or for your promotion, things like that. And also documentation to communicate your work to your stakeholders who are not technical in nature, or through to your peers, teammates who might get a handoff of that work later in future, and to make things easy for your someone who would be taking your work when you're not there. So nobody has a permanent position in the project that they're working on. So just having a mindset that I should make things easy for the next person who would be taking up this job um, would help you do a good documentation. So these are the things that I would like to add on.
Excellent advice across the board. So, if you could go back to your first 6 months in your professional career, what surprised you the most? Simriti, let's start with you if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. I think we partly covered in the previous answer, but I would quote it in a different way. What surprised me, honestly, was I thought, okay, I am assigned a project, or I pick up a project, pitch an idea, I deliver it, I do it, and my job is done. But I got to know that no, that's not the case. You need to talk about the work, you need to communicate about it, and you need to network and learn work communication. I was like, what is this new thing? I thought I'm just coming from a fresh undergrad school. I was like, okay, I do my work, I do my homework, and I'm done. I don't need to talk to people about that. What is this new thing of talking to people about my, and I really, honestly, I felt very uncomfortable doing that, because it also felt like bragging about your work, or it was like going outside my comfort zone, because I'm not naturally not very talkative in the workplace. But that's a very, very, very important skill, more than your technical abilities, to I would say, to kind of progress in industry and progress in corporate. And as Raza and Dimitri also emphasized, communication. So that's the one thing that surprised me a lot, and eventually I ended up learning that and still learning that. But that's one thing I would say, that communicating about your work, learning work communication, is really, really important.
All right, Reza, how about you? What surprised you most in the first 6 months of your career?
Um, in in my academic job, I didn't get surprised a lot, so it was like a natural step of graduate school, and um, I would say for me it was easy. For me, no surprise. But moving from, again, I think graduate school or academic job to industry, and this is something that maybe a lot of people don't talk about it, but when you are in industry after a couple of years and you want to hire a person, you pay attention to that. That in academia, you have the ownership of what you build. You have intellectual property. You publish a paper, it's yours, um, uh, and it's like your child, what you make, what you build. But in industry, you don't have that ownership. Obviously, you have to take ownership. You have to take the responsibility. As somebody mentioned, you have to take the ownership from A to Z. So whatever you build, okay, I built the model, I'm hands off. There's nothing like that. You have to make sure that it's implementable, that it's maintainable, it's robust, it's scalable, and maintain it until you are off the project or you are gone from the company. But the ownership is not like that you own that model, algorithm, or that piece of code. The ownership is companies. Everybody can use it. That's one surprise, I think, that I've got. And also the second one, communication. Like, you have to constantly be in the meetings, in talking with different people, and make sure that everybody are on the same page. Another surprise is that a lot of things, or those communication tools that in industry we work, in grad school we don't get educated about them. Documentation, we learn how to write papers, but a different style of documentation. We like tools like Confluence, tools like Git that maybe in academia some people use it frequently, but not everybody. So I would suggest getting working with Git or other version control apps, or as I said, not just one field. You have to know a little bit of everything from data pipelines, from to dashboards or whatever you present to the customer, deployment and implementation. So those things, I think that you are not focused in one area and you have to have a wider range of like knowledge breadth is something also that I've got surprised. But maybe a couple of months at the beginning of the job, not after a couple of years.
All right, Dimitri, how about you? Biggest surprise in the first 6 months of your career?
I think my biggest surprise was that the work is actually very highly collaborative. Like you work on some parts, but you hand it off to other people. But before that, you got data from other people, and it's like you talk all the time. And yeah, it's very similar to previous panelist mentioned. What I want to add here is that it is also fine not to know everything. You need to know your part of job as good as possible. You need to make sure that you're full owner of your project. And it's totally fine if you don't know specific function in Spark or anything on just some technical tool. You can always reach to people if you want to. But if you don't, it's also fine. Just relax and make sure that you can do your job. Yeah, I think this is the most surprising thing, because in academia, I always think that, well, when I was in grad school, I was thinking that maybe I need to know everything. Oh, this field, I definitely need to learn about it, and this field, and you just go back and forth, and you're trying to learn all these things. But in reality, you don't really need it, like in job. Make sure that you know your stuff, but it is fine to relax sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So on the topic of surprises, I am going to share our second poll question now. So you should see this come up in 1 second. So what, if anything, has surprised you most so far today? And a lot of these topics, have come up in everyone's stories. And if there's something else you want to mention or just something that struck you as really interesting, feel free to throw that in the chat or the Q&A as well. I think we're gonna do some more questions toward the end. So if you've already put in a question that we didn't get to, we'll make time for that at the end. So yeah, we're getting can you all see the answers? Am I sharing that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so you see it's a pretty much across the board. Okay. Go ahead and end that. And yep. Lots of surprises overall.
Covering a lot of ground too, a lot of different areas.
Yes, covering a lot of ground today for sure. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to move on to our next question for the panelists. So one theme that connects all three of your stories, experience has taught us things that we couldn't possibly have known at the beginning. I think you've all touched on that. So we wanted to spend the next few minutes talking about those lessons and what's something you wish you'd known before you started your career. Dimitri, let's start with you.
That's a great question. I think one key lesson that I learned is that if you're looking for a job, then you need to apply as soon as possible. There is no point of time where you can say that I'm fully prepared for a job or for the interview or anything. Just do all these applications as soon as possible. It's gonna take some time to actually get a response from companies. It's gonna take time to actually learn what the job gonna be about. because sometimes job description and the actual skills the team is looking for, there might be a little bit different, and you can't know it just from the description. So yeah, apply as soon as possible. Don't overthink this, the preparation. And maybe another thing is that what really helped me at some point is to assume that you're gonna get reject for every single position that you applied. It's gonna like make you huge relief, and it's not a negative point, like a negative attitude or anything. It's about accepting the randomness in this process, because even nowadays AI is a huge plays a huge role, and sometimes your CV might not be appropriate for AI or anything, so you might get rejected by a robot. So it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's just how things works right now. If you get in rejections over and over again, like let's say 20 rejections in 2 weeks, okay, maybe you need to adjust your CV a little bit. Maybe you need to start using reverse or something, but still it's like getting an invitation to interview. It's a huge luck in this process. Yeah.
Very good point. Reza, how about you?
I wish I had understood that career decisions are not permanent and that changing directions does not mean starting over. Research, teaching, programming, communication, problem-solving skills, and any other skills transferable can transfer across roles and industries. You don't need to plan your entire career in advance. It's okay that you haven't figured out what you want. You need to remain curious, make thoughtful decisions with the information you already have, and be willing to adapt. I also um, wish I'd started sending, so I can resonate with what uh, Dimitri says, sending applications the moment I felt curious, not when I thought I was fully ready or I almost ready. Because each posting taught me something new, how to phrase my experience, what keywords matter, where the gaps are, and those gaps, like how to fill those gaps. Waiting for the perfect match only delays the progress. And from when you want to come from academia or grad school, there is this feeling of imposter syndrome that you feel like you don't have what it takes, but that's not the case always. And the best way to even if there is a gap, to close a skill gap is to identify them from job posting, I think. And early frequent applications also expand the network. So networking is very important. And like in order, instead of waiting for the perfect time, starting and growth actually usually happens by entering situations that stretch us slightly beyond what we already know. So, by putting ourselves into that situations and applying for the job that we really love, then we get some feedback. It's kind of agile management. Iteratively, we can improve and um, move forward.
Thank you. Samriddhi, what about you? What's one thing you really wish you'd known?
Um, I would like to add more than one thing. So first would be, since both of my co-panelists spoke about part of job hunting process and job search process, one it might sound a very simple thing to do, and not so important, but uh, building a story bank for all your experiences helps a lot, and not just for your while you are in the job searching process, even after you have got the job, uh, the habit of documenting all your experiences, small or big, in your own words, in a document through, and creating a story bank helps you at the time of your interviews, helps you curate your resumes, helps you curate your CVs, and you can handpick the relevant experience from that. And it saves a lot of your time and energy when you have an interview or when you are immediately asked for your resume and you think, oh my God, I have to spend so much time tweaking it and tweaking the points and all of that. So having a story bank updated throughout will help you a lot. And that's one practice I have developed through my job searching process, and I have a calendar block for it for every week as well to update whatever work I did in my job. Another point that I would like to mention after you enter the industry, and very important point that I have taught myself, is don't get settled in terms of your mindset. Even if you feel like, even if you feel very secure in your job and you like your job, keep upskilling and challenging yourself, especially in the times that we are right now. That will keep you on the edge, and that will also motivate you to explore more opportunities. And another thing that I would like to add would be okay to speak up in rooms full of leaders and rooms full of people who hold more experience than you, who hold more knowledge than you in the workspace, because there is no such thing as right or wrong questions, as it's told before. And if you have got a seat on the table, know that your opinions are valuable. So have that confidence and learn to speak up. And that's how you build your confidence and your credibility. So these are the things that I would like to add.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Wow. We really heard some wonderful stories and practical advice this afternoon. And I hope many of those listening have been thinking, I've been wondering that too. So we'd love to close out again by bringing our attendees back into the conversation.
Okay. So we have one last poll for you. Let me just find it. Okay, you should be able to see this now. And I'm really curious to hear people's answers to this. If you had to choose just one of these things, have to pick one. What matters most to you when you think about your future career? So meaningful or impactful work, people seem to be choosing that. Flexibility, work-life balance. Just going to leave it up for one more minute. And then I think, Ashley, we're just going to go to the questions. I think we only have a few more minutes, but we do have some questions.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's see. We have a few more answers coming in. Yep, it looks like meaningful or impactful work was the top vote getter here. Then flexibility, opportunities for growth, and something else, which there was no place to enter what something else was, but I'm interested that nobody chose salary and benefits. That's very interesting to me. But I think that's fallen out of fashion somewhat. So I do want to, somebody mentioned an interesting question in the Q&A, and we have not heard AI come up too much today, just a little bit. But someone is asking, we often hear AI discussed in terms of tokens, latency, and deployment pipelines. But based on your own workplace or day-to-day experience, what have you genuinely learned from using AI? And most importantly, what have you actually built or shipped? Can anyone answer that?
We can get started.
Sure.
So I agree that it's discussed in terms of tokens and latency, especially in the tech environment we are in. What I have genuinely learned using AI is we tend to forget that it's at the end of the day, it's a tool or it's a technology, and it's not another brain or a human brain working behind it. We in the process of making AI work for us, we kind of tend to give away too much agency to AI in the process, and it also our the human brain's laziness also kind of gets kicked in there, and not completely accepting the response of it, or maybe not providing enough instructions for it to use, and assuming that if we dump all the information in one prompt, or dump few information, it will understand. So keeping in mind that it's not another human, and knowing that to treat it as a new intern or a new hire in your team. So how you will treat a new hire or new intern, that's how you need to teach your AI or your agent. You need to provide the background, make sure you set up the context, set of instructions, and then use it. And also adding the verifiability layer or evaluation layer to that. That's getting very, very important as we get out of this race of building and building and building things from AI and just creating a slop. So learning verifiability, learning the context window, prompt engineering, all of that's something that I have learned in AI, and I have built a lot of tools outside my work. In my work, I have built like workflows and pipelines for analytics and data engineering and data analytics related work. And outside, I have built some products that are useful for people who needs a referral from their LinkedIn connection. So yeah, have pretty much used it for different use cases.
Did anyone else want to speak to that real quick? We have a couple minutes.
I think AI and mostly these LLMs, they really help you to accelerate your work, like to deliver faster. But a couple of things. First, you always need to make sure that you validate all the outputs. And for that, you still need to have a very good foundations. Like you understand the theoretical base, you understand what this and that function is responsible for. So you can quickly check it and don't take it on board, because at the end of the day, you are the owner of your project and your code. But yeah, I think what I see in my work, you are expected to deliver faster. Like, because a lot of this routine work, which is like not really meaningful to business and everything, it can be automated. So if it can be automated, that you have more time to actually think about the problem and the constraints that we have.
All right, we are just about out of time. I think we packed a lot into 1 hour and probably could have gone on and covered a lot more topics, but thank you so much to our panelists for sharing their stories today and their perspectives. And thank you to all the attendees for asking your questions. And please continue the conversation on Informs Connect. There's a great forum in there that you can chime in on, and keep asking the questions. And we'll see you on the next Undecided a Conversation. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you all.
Thank you for attending.